couldn't talk to children. In fact, sitting right there on the stage, I would try to talk to my family, my own nieces and nephews. And half of you heard this story already, but I would try to talk to my nieces, and Uncle Marshall would spank them. I'm like, I'm smart than that. I don't need to spank my nieces and nephews. So I would take them over there, and I'm like, kids, and I would talk to them, and I would talk to them. And I remember my niece raising her hand, Uncle. I go, yes. Uncle, can you just hit us? I'm like, what? When Uncle Marshall hits us, it's over. But when you talk, it goes on. And I'm like, in fact, I was Pathfinder director for 1 year or 2 years. It was the worst Pathfinder leader experience. I was the worst. It was awful. I didn't know how to work with kids. I didn't know how to talk with kids. And at the risk of boring all of you, I guess I'll share the one story. Because it ends with the kids, which is the only reason why I would ever stay. And this story includes my mom. My mom and my brother, they said, hey, we're going on a mission trip to Christmas Island. You want to go? I'm like, no, I don't want to go. You don't want to go? I don't want to go. Then they said, they went, and they said, hey, guess what? We're going on a mission trip to another place. I'm like, I don't want to go. And then they said, guess what? I'm going to Russia. I'm like, wow, you guys have fun. I didn't want to go. If I talked to kids, I just had enough material for about a minute to entertain them, and I'd run out of stuff. And I was that guy that would not say hello to kids. I would try to high five. And so then, when the Russian kids, when our Hawaii kids went to Russia and they came back to Hawaii, my mom said, hey, guess what? The Russian kids are here. We're going to KMC, military camp. You want to come camping with us? And what did Mr. Freitas say? No. And I didn't go. And on the last day of the camp, my mom said, Joey, you're coming to camp. And guess what I did? I went to camp. And I got to camp, and after worship, I'm sitting there, and there was a little Russian kid. And this little Russian kid tries to talk to me, but we can't understand each other, but he knows I'm not going to do anything. And I'm barely connected. And then he pulls out of his bag a pine cone, and he opens a pine cone, and he opens it up, and he pulls out a little pinyon pine nut, and passes it to me, and I don't know what to do with it. And he takes it back, and he bites, and he opens it, and he starts eating. And he's like showing me how to enjoy this pine cone. I'm like, oh. And we're sitting together eating. Isn't that the best way to do it? Jesus did it that way. I guess he knew how to get to my heart through my stomach. And then he was so excited, he went back in his bag and he pulled out some Russian money, some rubles, and he had me open on my hand and he put the rubles in there. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. And he's so excited, he goes back in his bag and he pulls a little craft that he made and he hands it to me and he assures me that it's for me. And that broke me. I'm like, oh my goodness, this kid is wonderful. And so I said, let's go. Pajom, Pashto. I didn't know that much Russian then. But I'm like, let's go. And we went, and I said, Mom, what's going on? She said, we're going to Honolulu right now. I'm like, what? No. And I said, no. So I went down to Prince Goodyear. It was kind of new, kind of open. They had Woolworth in there. And I got some Hawaiian toys and Hawaiian candy. And I met them all at the airport. And Nicole Kupel was flying with it. And her brother, Jeff, and they're flying to Honolulu with the Russians, and I'm not going. And I'm passing out my gifts at the airport. And I say goodbye, and they're hugging me. And I'm like, I don't want this party to end. I'm going to Honolulu. So I went home. I went to Home Hawaii Cola, and I packed a bag, and I grabbed something from my closet. And I put it in my bag. And a couple hours later, I show up at the gathering, Kaneohe Bay Drive, right close to their Coconut Island. And the news crew's over there, and I show, hey guys, what's up? And Nicole's like, what are you doing, Joe? And I want to connect. I want to receive some of this love. And I spent the next few days connecting with these kids. But at the end of the day, when it was time for them to fly back to Russia, I got that same little boy. I said, can you wait right here? And I went into my bag and I pulled out one of those thick mama kid kind of jackets that no longer fit me. And I put it around him and I said, and I assured him that it was for him. And he started crying. He started crying. He started crying and he's hugging me like I gave him $1 million. And he's hugging me and he's hugging me. And that's when I knew. I'm going to Russia. And I did go to Russia. I met Nicole Kupela and I have some of the funniest memories we'll never share. Life experiences. But it was then I learned the value of students. So if I ever stayed at Mama Loa's school, or if I ever came back, it's for you kids. You kids have made this year the best year. But then last year was the best year. And the year before was the best year. But every year I had the opportunity to connect with kids in the best year. So can all the students that ever been my student, can you guys all come up here so we can take a picture? Ever been a student of mine?